All right. So I will go ahead and pray really quick. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day that you've given us. Thank you for the week that you've given us. Although it's been extremely long, we've made it to Thursday and we're gathered here together. We just thank you so much. And we ask for, I pray over each and every person here. I ask that you add a blessing onto them for being here and just anything that they may be going through. Just bring them peace, overwhelm them with your love, bring them comfort, and just guide them in all their ways. We ask that you be with us as we study your word tonight. Just bring us understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. We give you the thanks and praise right now. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All righty. So we are going to start on Leviticus 10. We are making our way through, and it's a little bit more, in my opinion, it's a little more fun information today. Not so much. I mean, it's just a little different in the laws and things. But I do have the notes uploaded. So today the plan is going to be to go through Leviticus 10 through 14. A couple of these are semi short, so um, we shall get started. And there's going to be a couple different like passages that we add, one in Jasher or one in Jubilees and one in Matthew, I think, but we shall get started. So Leviticus 10. Now Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer and put fire in it and laid incense on it and offered unauthorized or strange fire before the Lord, which he had not commanded them. Fire came out from before the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord has said. Among those who are near me, I will be sanctified, and before all the people, I will be glorified." And Aaron held his peace. Moses called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said to them, "Come near, carry your brothers away from the front of the sanctuary and out of the camp." So they came near and carried them in their coats out of the camp, as Moses had said. Moses said to Aaron and to Eleazar and Ithamar, his sons, "Do not let the hair of your heads hang loose, and do not tear your clothes, lest you die, and wrath come upon all the congregation. But let your brothers, the whole house of Israel, bewail the burning that the Lord has kindled. Do not go outside the entrance of the tent of meeting, lest you die, for the anointing oil of the Lord is upon you." And they did according to the word of Moses. And the Lord spoke to Aaron, saying, "Drink no wine or strong drink, you or your sons with you, when you go into the tent of meeting, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. You are to distinguish between the holy and the common, between the unclean and the clean, and you are to teach the people of Israel all the statutes that the Lord has spoken to them by Moses." Moses spoke to Aaron and to Eleazar and Ithamar, his surviving sons. "Take the grain offering that is left of the Lord's food offerings, eat it unleavened beside the altar, for it is most holy. You shall eat it in a holy place, because it is your due and your son's due from the Lord's food offerings. For so I am commanded. But the breast that is waved and the thigh that is contributed, you shall eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they are given as your due, and your sons due from the sacrifices of the peace offerings of the people of Israel. The thigh that is contributed and the breast that is waved, they shall bring with the food offerings of the fat pieces to wave for a wave offering before the Lord. And it shall be yours and your sons with you as a due forever, as the Lord has commanded." Now Moses diligently inquired about the goat of the sin offering. Behold, it was burned up. He was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, the surviving sons of Aaron, saying, Why have you not eaten the sin offering in the place of the sanctuary, since it is a thing most holy and has been given to you that you may bear the iniquity of the congregation to make atonement for them before the Lord? Behold, its blood was not brought into the inner part of the sanctuary. You certainly ought to have eaten it in the sanctuary, as I commanded. Aaron said to Moses, Behold, today they have offered their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord. Yet such things as these have happened to me. If I had eaten the sin offering today, would the Lord have approved? And when Moses heard that, he approved. Okay, so chapter 10. This is like the first of the first when it comes to the priests being disobedient. So Nadab and Abihu, they were Aaron's sons. So they had already gone through all of the ceremonies. They heard the expectations of God. They knew what it was that they were supposed to be doing. So it's not like they just popped in and were just like, okay, well, we're going to help our dad. Like, no, they already went through everything to be anointed, all of that. So because they decided that they were going to offer this strange fire, God gave them divine judgment. And it didn't just impact them, it impacted Aaron and all of the people, because now that's two priests that are going to have to be atoned for their disobedience. But then Aaron, those are his kids, and he's not even allowed to say nothing. Like, he has to keep his peace the whole time, where 2 out of 4 of his kids are just taken out. So because they offered strange and unauthorized fire to the Lord, they were consumed by God's holy fire. Like, imagine just like, that's it. Strike and you're done. I mean, because in Exodus 30, this is where we read about the incense that was acceptable to God. So remember, it had to have like the oil, the frankincense, and a couple different other spices. All of those had to be mixed, and that was bringing the sweet aroma to God. Right. But in this case, they authorized whatever it was that they wanted to, and they found out the consequences. So God's standards are set for a reason, and this showed the gravity of the situation when quality is sacrificed. Nadab and Abihu offered in the way they wanted, going off script, and they paid for it with their lives. And remember how many times so far, like when they're going into the temple or when they're going into the Holy of Holies, it says, like, do this or you'll die. Yeah. Like, they even want to mess with. I don't know. This is the or you'll die part. Like, they messed around and they found out at this point, because like, why? No. So the tabernacle was sacred. The practices were sacred, and they defiled it. So they took advantage of the privilege that they were given to even be able to walk into that place and be close to God. They just totally disregarded it. Crazy. And it's not that God expects respect, he demands it. Like, he sets the rules, he sets the quality, he sets the standards, and you're expected to live by them and to follow them, especially being called into such a high office. Like, you're the high priest, meaning like you are responsible not just for yourself, but for everybody under you. You're like the supervisor or the CEO of the company. Like, everybody else has to answer to you. And so Aaron, because he was the high priest, he wasn't allowed to say nothing. He wasn't allowed to mourn. He wasn't allowed to grieve. He had to keep his mouth shut. It would. Like, can you imagine? Like, you've got 2 kids. Yeah, and you can't say nothing. And you just have to go about your business like nothing has happened. Like, it's just a normal Tuesday. That would be hard. Yeah. But when he was ordained, his primary responsibility was to the things of God. So he wasn't allowed to leave his post. He couldn't go and cry. He couldn't do anything. He had to just stay at his post, stay in the tabernacle, and continue the sacrifices. Aaron's cousins had to come and carry Nadab and Abihu out of the camp. Because remember, I think, I don't think it was last week. I think maybe it was, no, I think it was last week, where the priests were not allowed to touch anything unclean. They can't eat, they can't touch dead bugs, they can't touch dead bodies, nothing.
Right.
Like they're not allowed to. So the other two, they had strict instructions for handling the bodies, even though they weren't specifically anointed to that office. So they didn't have the same restrictions, but their hair still had to be tied back so it wouldn't come in contact with the bodies. And they weren't allowed to tear their clothes. And tearing of the clothes um, was more for Aaron's other sons because they had to keep their post, but they had to keep themselves together. They had to keep their hair together. Their clothes had to still be nice, and
Sandals on.
they weren't allowed to. Yeah, they weren't allowed to do anything to put them.
She just knocked that lamp.
Yeah, to be unclean. So in the Old Testament, we'll see many situations where people are tearing their clothes. And this was an outward expression of grief or anxiety. It showed that there was some form of either harm or disaster that came to a family or a community within the camp. Clothes were expensive back in those days, so this showed the inner turmoil that someone felt. Like if you see them putting ash on their head and tearing their clothes, that's like the utmost form of grief at that point. And the high priest could not show this in any situation due to the special calling he had. He was held to a higher standard and was required to maintain composure at all times.
I don't understand the tearing of clothes, though.
Why? What do you mean?
Why do they tear their clothes?
I just told you that. Did you listen? Were you listening?
Apparently not.
I'm sitting right next to you.
But why?
Looking straight
why
at
the
you.
clothes? Why the clothes?
Because what else are they gonna do? Like they're gonna try to poke their eyes out? Like that's the closest thing. Like think about when you grieve. Like okay, so if you've ever grieved, anybody can speak up. Like if you've ever lost someone dear to you or have gone through it, like how do you handle that? What do you do? No, but that's what it is. Like, you know, when you're so grieved, you're looking for something to hold on to. You're looking for something to grab onto. Look in the movies. Like when they're grieved, what are they doing? They're over there like grabbing somebody's shirt and in the hug and stuff, you know. So this is probably how they
express
they didn't have possessions. They didn't have like a plate that they could throw or break or,
Right.
you know, like they didn't have a bathroom wall that they could slide down. Like they're living in a tent. So
Right.
you know, it was just different. Um, but Aaron and his sons, they did get to sit and eat the offering. That was their portion still. The sin offering was burned up and was not eaten, but should have been to make atonement for the congregation. Now we get into a fun one, which is the animals. I know this is like a heavy debate. Like I hate when people talk about the food. Like, stop it. Stop it. Okay. So we're probably gonna break this one down a little bit. So we'll read a portion and then go to the notes because it has like 4 different categories. Okay. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and said to them, speak to the people of Israel, saying, these are the living things that you may eat among all the animals that are on the earth. Whatever parts the hoof and is cloven footed and chews the cud among the animals you may eat. Nevertheless, among those that chew the cud or part the hoof, you shall not eat these. The camel, because it chews the cud but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. The rock badger, because it chews the cud but does not part the hoof, is unclean to you. The hare, because it chews the cud but does not part the hoof, it is unclean to you. The pig, because it parts the hoof and is cloven footed but does not chew the cud, is unclean to you. You shall not eat any of their flesh, and you shall not touch their carcasses. They are unclean to you. So God is outlining all of the creatures of the earth, like all of them, what's about to, like what you can and can't eat. He's putting a strict distinction into what's clean and unclean. And there's reasons for it. I did not know prior to this week. So it was very interesting. So as far as the land animals, I put a picture here because you could eat animals with their hoof that is cloven footed, meaning that it's parted. So they got like two toes and they chew the cud. Both of these things are required. It couldn't be one or the other. It had to be their hoof looked the way it did and they chewed the cud. So this included animals such as cattle, sheep, mountain sheep, goats, wild goats, mountain goats, deer, anything within the family. Um, and I was looking up the reason for, like, if there was something specific about how they eat or what they do. And these animals possess a four-chambered stomach where partially digested food is regurgitated for further chewing. This physiological feature proves significant because the four stomach chambers enable ruminants to eliminate bacteria, toxins, parasites, and other harmful substances that might otherwise remain in the animal's flesh. So they got their own like little recycling system
Cool.
bouncing back and forth within the chambers of their stomach. So they're automatically eliminating bacteria, so you're less likely to, get sick or have things inside your body. So the animals that chew the cud but do not part the hoof, or vice versa, and only have one, is the camel, the beaver, the rock badger. I don't even know what that looks like. A hare and a pig, which of course pigs should automatically be assumed because they're like human garbage cans. They don't have sweat glands. They literally will eat their own kind. You could feed yes, you could feed a human to them and they will eat it.
The only thing that'll be left is the teeth.
Like they are absolutely disgusting.
Look at the little things. They look cute though.
Oh, those are cute.
And like so many people, like so many different religions don't eat pork too because of these reasons, right?
Right. Now, in the New Testament, they were like all animals are made clean, but obviously, just because it's made clean doesn't mean that it's beneficial for you because pork, carries a lot of, yes, it carries a lot of bacteria, but it also carries a lot of grease, a lot of fat. Like, you know, so all of those things still have to be considered for your health. Like we'll talk about the foreshadowing, but yes, pork was definitely a no-no. I mean, camel, I don't even why? Why?
I don't know the camel was a thing.
Yeah, me.
Yeah,
The camel.
no. I
Go eat
don't
some
know.
camel. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Okay, so ruminating animals digest food more thoroughly due to their stomach structure. And during cud chewing, poisonous properties from noxious plants are expelled through the salivary glands. Parted hooves serve as an additional mechanism for eliminating harmful substances, as animals with divided hooves discharge toxic matter between the toes when feeding in unfavorable conditions. Whereas animals with undivided hooves become severely affected by poisonous plants in the same environment. I thought that was super interesting because it's like, what do you mean? Like toxins just seep out of their feet?
That is cool.
That is crazy.
Like they're
Is
like,
that, wait. Question.
Mhm.
Is that why we shouldn't eat pig feet?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. But they taste so good.
Ew.
I cannot. I cannot.
That's
Pig
crazy.
is one thing, but not the feet, the snout, the all the disgusting.
Yo, when I used to watch Fear Factor, I was like, if I had to eat the bull nose, I could definitely do it.
Ew.
I
But
could
if you
definitely
pickle them
do it.
or you boil them and put some barbecue sauce on them,
Uh-uh.
we were kids. We had to do this when we were kids living in the projects. Now my daddy went and got some pigtails and some pig ears. No, I can't do that. But I used to eat the feet when I was a kid.
Mm-mm.
Mama cooked it, we ate it, or we got a whooping.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. That makes sense.
Shrimp,
You grew up to it.
shrimp,
Mm-hmm.
catfish. Oh my gosh, that's a good
But now
stuff.
that I'm an adult, I don't cook and eat pig feet at all. Nor do I eat
Mm.
bacon every now and then.
Yeah, we'll eat pig every once in a while, like pork, like different things, but we definitely try to limit it now that,
Yes.
I mean, knowing what I know about pigs, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't know if I'm actually eating like just a pig or if there's like a human with the pig. Like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
so that one is the land animals. So I thought it was, I mean, the hare, I wouldn't think that would be, but I guess because it's different than like a regular rabbit, but still not considered clean.
Yeah, rabbit is good with some
Mhm.
gravy
I never had
and some rice.
it. Okay, so now water creatures, and this I've seen this in debate so many times, and people do not like this section, the water. So with the water, you may eat all that are all that are in the waters, everything in the waters that has fins and scales, whether in the seas or in the rivers, you may eat. Anything in the seas or the rivers that does not have fins and scales, of the swarming creatures in the waters and of the living creatures that are in the waters, is detestable to you. You shall regard them as detestable. You shall not eat any of their flesh, and you shall detest their carcasses. Everything in the waters that does not have fish or fins and scales is detestable to you. So basically, all the seafood boils, everything, the shellfish, the shrimp, the lobster, the crab, the oysters, catfish, all that stuff was unclean because it doesn't have fish. It doesn't have fin. Why do I keep saying fish? Fins and scales. It has to have both. So regular fish you can have like salmon, trout, cod, tilapia, those things because they have fins. Jesus, help me please with these words.
Give her
So
shrimp.
why? Oh my goodness. But yes, so all of those, like any fish you could, but the bottom feeders, like all the shellfish, everything that comes in, like the shrimp, all that stuff, was that was a no. It was considered unclean. So the reason for that is the requirement for both fins and scales served practical purposes in ancient Israel. Fins enabled efficient movement and oxygenation, while scales provided protection and reduced parasitic infection. Fish meeting both criteria tend to be healthier and less prone to disease transmission than those lacking these features. The law combines spiritual purity with practical health considerations, ensuring that the dietary restrictions aligned with the physical safety of those following them. So, shrimp, all of those, like while they're good, they're bottom feeders. So, they're going to eat the poop of the ocean.
Right.
Like they don't care. They'll feed on everything. So when you're eating that, then whatever, if they picked up any disease or anything, then that can be transferred over to you.
Yeah, that's where you're supposed to clean out the poop vein.
Yes, but not everybody does.
Right.
Okay, so now we move on to the birds. And this section doesn't really give information as far as what you can eat. This is what you cannot eat. The eagle, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the kite, the falcon of any kind, raven of any kind, the ostrich. I know people love their ostrich eggs. The nighthawk, the seagull, the hawk of any kind, the little owl, the cormorant. I don't know what that is. The short eared owl, the barn owl, the tawny owl, the carrion vulture, the stork, the heron of any kind, the hoopoe, and the bat. I thought it was crazy that they added the bat because I did not think the bat was a bird.
Well, but it flies.
Yes, but I thought it was a mammal.
Right? Don't they?
They're not.
I think. I mean, and that might be why, because they're nocturnal, like the falcon. You see these birds are, but
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I guess what section do they fit in? Because they don't necessarily fit in with the animals of the land because they fly. They don't fit in the water because they don't go in the water.
Yeah.
And then the last section is insects. So I guess like that's like the only like the birds, like the things that fly.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, oh, so that's what happened with COVID, huh? Like they told you not to eat it, you ate it. And then we had some problems.
Allegedly. Let me stop.
Yes, yes.
I'm on one today. Let me stop.
Single family are classified into their own
Bad talk.
mammalian order called Chiroptera.
Pyrotera. So they're like a dinosaur brand. Okay. So all of these. So I was trying to look at why they would be considered unclean, like because there wasn't any specifics, but and what would be considered clean. But I guess things like obviously like pigeons, right? Turtle doves, because we know people they were sacrificing those. Chickens, like things not on the list that aren't predators, those were okay. But these birds here listed were either predatory or scavengers. Eagles, fox, eagles, hawks, falcons, and vultures hunted other animals, often consuming carrion and decaying flesh. Crows and ravens similarly fed on dead animals and refuse. And remember, you weren't allowed to touch anything that was dead or feeding on the dead. So these automatically unclean. So predatory and scavenging behavior rendered these birds ceremonially unclean because they consumed flesh in ways that violated the purity standards God established for his people. Certain birds were also associated with undesirable characteristics. Owls were nocturnal creatures linked to darkness and desolation in biblical symbolism. The bat, though technically a mammal rather than a bird, was grouped with unclean birds, possibly because its nocturnal habits and unusual appearance made it seem aberrant. The ostrich, unable to fly despite being a bird, violated the expected nature of its category. I don't think that one's fair. Like if God created him not to fly, like that's he didn't violate it. That's just how he was created.
Aw.
The stork, the heron, and the pelican, wading birds that frequented marshes and wetlands, may have been considered unclean due to their association with murky and disease-prone environments. The hoopoe, with its distinctive crest and ground feeding habits, fell outside the acceptable categories. Um, the clean birds were those suitable for human consumption without compromising ritual purity, typically grain eating fowl like chickens, doves, pigeons. The prohibited birds' predatory nature, scavenging habits, or unusual characteristics made them incompatible with Israel's holiness standards. I thought that all of these sections were really interesting because it's like, okay, you just think like God just telling you what you can and can't eat. But when you look into like what these animals actually do, how they eat, like their lifestyle, it makes sense that you would want to stay away from some of them. Okay, so now we get into the bugs because that was a big thing, was eating some bugs. Um, so all winged insects that go on all fours are detestable to you. Yet among the winged insects that go on all fours, You may eat those that have jointed legs above their feet, with which to hop on the ground. Of them, you may eat the locust of any kind, the bald locust of any kind, the cricket of any kind, the grasshopper of any kind. All other winged insects that have 4 feet are detestable to you. And by these you shall become unclean. Whoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until the evening, and whoever carries any part of their carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. Oh, I think that's going on to the next section. So, winged insects. Yes, if they had jointed legs above their feet. Like, I personally am not going to get close enough to a bug to inspect their legs, but locusts are really good for protein. Crickets, grasshoppers, like they produce a lot of protein and they have natural vitamins and minerals just because that's all they feed on is grain, plants, all that good stuff. So they're mainly herbivores, consuming vegetation rather than carrion or decaying matter. Their jumping motion also suggests they inhabit open fields and grasslands rather than filthy or contaminated environments. In contrast, 4-legged flying insects without elongated hind legs, such as flies, mosquitoes, and other crawling insects, tend to frequent refuse, dung, and decomposing material, making them vectors for disease and contamination. I mean, look at that screwworm that just made its way over the border.
Right.
Like it's already infecting a dog, a cow, a cat, and it's moved to 2 states. And they said eradication probably won't happen until sometime in 2027.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And the last time it was around was in 1966.
Everything's making a comeback.
Literally. So those were the main sections. Now we have just some random little animals. Every animal that parts the hoof but is not cloven footed or does not see the cud is unclean to you. Everyone who touches them shall be unclean. All that walk on their paws, so all these dogs and cats, among the animals that go on all 4s, unclean to you. Whoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. He who carries their carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean to you. These are unclean to you among the swarming things that swarm on the ground: the mole rat, the mouse, the great lizard of any kind, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the sand lizard, the chameleon. These are unclean to you among all that swarm. Whoever touches them when they are dead shall be unclean until the evening. Anything on which any of them falls when they are dead shall be unclean, whether it is an article of wood or a garment or a skin or a sack, any article that is used for any purpose. um, it must be put into water. It shall be unclean until the evening. Then it shall be clean. If any of them falls into any earthenware vessel, all that is in it shall be unclean, and you shall break it. Any food in it that could be eaten, on which water comes, shall be unclean. All drink that could be drunk from every such vessel shall be unclean. Everything on which any part of their carcass falls shall be unclean. Whether oven or stove, it shall be broken in pieces. Imagine having to break your oven because a dead creature fell on it. Like that would be crazy. Like people just be going through stuff. Um, they're unclean and shall remain unclean for you. Nevertheless, a spring or a cistern holding water shall be clean, but whoever touches a carcass in them shall be unclean. If any part of the carcass falls upon any seed grain that is to be sown, it is clean. But if water is put on the seed and any part of their carcass falls on it, it is unclean to you. If any animal which you may eat dies, whoever touches its carcass shall be unclean until the evening. Whoever eats of its carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. Whoever carries the carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. Every swarming thing that swarms on the ground is detestable. It shall not be eaten. Whatever goes on its belly, and whatever goes on all fours, or whatever has many feet, any swarming thing that swarms on the ground, you shall not eat, for they are detestable. You shall not make yourselves detestable with any swarming thing that swarms, and you shall not defile yourselves with them, and become unclean through them. For I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves, therefore, and be holy, for I am holy. You shall not defile yourselves with any swarming thing that crawls on the ground. For I am the Lord who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. This is the law about beast and bird and every living creature that moves through the waters and every creature that swarms on the ground, to make a distinction between the clean or the unclean and the clean, and between the living creature that may be eaten and the living creature that may not be eaten. So, um, the prohibition against eating swarming things operated on a different principle than the dietary restrictions. Rather than being based on observable biological characteristics, the restriction on reptiles and swarming creatures stemmed from superstitions universally attached to serpents, which the Arabs frequently regarded as demoniacal and identified with supernatural beings, with the serpent in Genesis 3 illustrating their perceived demoniacal nature. Anything that even touched the carcass of the dead animal insect was considered unclean and had to be washed or discarded, like the earthenware, immediately. Even the clean animals, if it was dead and you handled it, you were considered unclean until the evening. God often refers to people throughout the Bible as different types of animals. The book of Enoch, when we get there, will as well. The clean and the unclean animals had dietary reasons, but also show a distinction between nations. The Israelites, or the Jews, were set apart from other nations, while the pagans, or the Gentiles, ate everything and often offered different animals for food to idols. Some even made the animals their idols. With the death and sacrifice of Jesus, the nations were no longer divided. Instead, everyone who chose could come to Jesus. He died for all. And in Matthew 15:11, Jesus himself says it's not about what goes into someone's mouth that defiles them, but what comes out of their mouth.
That makes sense.
That is what defiles them. Because at that point, in the Old Testament, yes, they have their dietary laws, they have their, clean and unclean. But at this point, like, they were always trying to trip Jesus up. They were always trying to say something about him. And so, like, oh, can we eat this? Or, oh, are we allowed to eat this? And he's just like, eat what you want, but you need to watch what comes out of your mouth. Um, and then one of Jesus' apostles, Peter, so when we get to Acts, he actually was called to the Jews. Like, he was the one that was helping the Jews. He was the one that was present with the Jews, sharing the gospel with them. And he was not, he like let a Gentile come up to him and he's just like, yeah, you're not my people. Sorry. But in Acts, there is a vision of this where he's not really he's not trying to be there with the Gentiles, but then he has a vision. And in Acts chapter 10, verse 9 through 16, it just says, about noon the following day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up to up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat. While the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance. He saw heaven open and something like a large sheet being let down to earth by its four corners. It contained all kinds of four-footed animals, as well as reptiles and birds. Then a voice told him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "Surely not, Lord," Peter replied. "I've never eaten anything impure or unclean." The voice spoke to him a second time. "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." This happened 3 times, and immediately the sheet was taken back to heaven. Um, so for him, like God is putting the distinction there that, whatever I make clean is clean. And in this case, it's a foreshadowing for Jesus because Jesus came to make all people clean
Right.
for those that choose him. Oh my goodness gracious. What did I just do?
But
The tabs. I clicked and now it's loading. I don't know what's about to happen. It's just about to be a surprise. Because I don't froze up my computer. Lord help me. Okay. Anybody have anything to say? Any questions? Anything on chapter 10 or 11? I realized I didn't ask anything between 10 and 11.
This reminds me of
No.
where was it
Oh,
at
go
when
ahead.
we
Sorry.
were reading about the what was it about the I, why can't I find my words when we were reading about the like how different sicknesses were caused because of I forgot what it was. We were, it
Oh,
was
in
earlier,
the
way
in the
earlier.
in the testaments of the 12 patriarchs, where he's like talking about how his lust for his eyes impacted his organs or whatever, like that part.
Yeah, that's what that kind of, I don't know why, but it like reminded me of that. I think maybe because
Mm,
it's like everything like has a reason, like don't eat this type of animal because of, this is what it eats and this is
Right.
what it could do to you.
And then as you
yeah.
read it, like as you go through it, it makes sense why you're not supposed to eat it. It's not just because of, God saying it's because they're not, of what they could do to your body, what they what they are filled with, what they eat.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, because think about it too, like in the in the garden, right? Like when Adam and Eve were, or well, when Adam was in the garden first, what did, like, God didn't tell him, like, oh yeah, you can have any animal that you want. You can have this, you could have that. He was just
Mhm.
like, okay, you can eat of any tree
Mhm.
here except for this one. Like, he wasn't just like, all right, go over and kill this animal and go over and take this animal. Like, animals weren't even supposed to be eaten. It was
Mhm.
supposed to be just the fruit and the plants from the trees that were supposed to be eaten because the animals still had blood. Like that still would have been shedding blood.
Mhm.
So all of these animals that they're saying not to eat, like, yeah, we weren't supposed to be eating them anyway. But it's crazy because I do always hear like debates going back and forth where they're like, oh well, we're still not allowed to eat these, we're still, you got to stay away from those. And another thing, like, your personal convictions are your personal convictions. Like at this
Mhm.
point, we've established, like, God has said that all things are made clean. Like they're not all beneficial, but they're they're all, you can eat them. You can eat them and you're not gonna be struck down. I mean, blood pressure might take you out, like heart attacks, like those kind of things might take you out, but not the judgment. But as far as that goes, like if if we're at a get together, right, and you're like, oh well, I don't eat pork. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to sit there and tell you, like, oh, well, you're allowed to eat it or whatever. Like, if you have your own conviction where God tells you not to eat it because you know that it's not good for your body or your health condition, like,
Mhm.
nobody should say anything because that's your own conviction. And you also can't push it on people like, oh, no, 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 you can't eat that. You're not allowed to eat that. Like,
Mhm.
back up, because at that point, you could be becoming overly religious to where now you're like the Pharisees trying to send every person into hell
Mhm.
because you made your trend because your conviction should apply to everybody. Like that's not how that works. So don't become a stumbling block for somebody else if they have a conviction and God tells them, like, hey, I don't want you eating that. Okay, cool. But that's your conviction, not everybody's, because the food was made clean, just not overly not beneficial. All right. We're moving on to Leviticus 12, talking about the periods and the childbirth. So
Mhm.
strap in, boys. Just kidding.
All right, Bobby.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not bad.
Betty.
No,
That's good.
and me being the what's it called, the feminist, it's all, this is directly connected to the patriarchy.
Yes, and this is a short chapter. Like there's really not a lot to it. Um, but we are gonna jump over to Jubilees. We didn't go through Jubilees with Jasher and Genesis because that would have been too much for you guys. But Jubilees is like the timelines of things. So okay, chapter 12. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the people of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean for 7 days. As at the time of her menstruation, she shall be unclean. On the 8th day, the flesh of the foreskin of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Then she shall continue for 33 days in the blood of her purifying. She shall not touch anything holy, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying are completed. If she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks. So her time doubles for a female. Unclean 2 weeks, as in her menstruation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying for 66 days. When the days of her purifying are completed, whether for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting a lamb a year old for a burnt offering, and a pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. He shall offer it before the Lord and make atonement for her. Then she shall be clean from the flow of her blood. This is the law for her who bears a child, either male or female. And if she cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a burnt offering and the other for a sin offering. The priest shall make atonement for her, and she shall be clean. So that's that about childbirth. Because I don't understand why it's worse to have a female child than a male child. Like that didn't make any sense to me.
Mhm.
Like you get double the impurity or the impurity depending on that. And like having a male child, you got 1 week.
Mhm.
And the male child had to be circumcised on the 8th day. And remember, that was when we talked about that was the significance of marking the men or the boys that were set apart for God. So if you were circumcised, then you were considered clean and you were set apart for God's purpose. And while the woman is going through menstruation and healing from childbirth, it's considered unclean for 33 days. Now, as I was reading, I don't know the connection. It's not there. Like, 33 came up because Jesus was alive on the earth for 33 days, 33 years. I don't know if it has a connection. I put it there, but I have no idea. It's just something that came to mind. But having a female child, the woman is unclean for double the time at 2 weeks. She will go through menstruation and healing for 66 days. And there were different theories on why the time would be longer for a female child. One I thought was interesting and stood out was symbolic associations with fertility and the continuation of life through women, since the woman carries the womb. But during their menstruation, like you were considered unclean. So you weren't even allowed to go near the sanctuary. You weren't allowed to do anything, touch anything holy. And I don't really understand the reason why after childbirth you had to bring an offering. It's like childbirth wasn't sinful, but you still had to bring an offering, and I'm assuming to atone for any sin that may have been committed, or the fact that the child is like born into a sinful nature. I'm not sure, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, and in Jubilee, so we didn't go over it, but I thought it was interesting because I do remember that it outlined a little bit more of what's like the difference between Adam and Eve when they were in the garden and the time frames. So I'm just gonna read it. I think it's just and I did right next to it Leviticus 12. Look at me, okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna read this really quick. On the 6 days of the second week, we brought, according to the word of God, to Adam all the beasts and all the cattle, all the birds, everything that moves on the earth, and everything that moves in the water, according to their kinds, according to their types, the beasts on the first day, the cattle on the second day, the birds on the third day, and all that which moves on the earth on the fourth day, that which moves in the water on the fifth day. Adam named them all by their respective names, and as he called them, so was their name. On these 5 days, Adam saw all these, male and female, according to every kind that was on the earth. But he was alone and found no helpmeet for him. And the Lord said to us, it is not good that the man should be alone. Let us make a helpmeet for him. The Lord our God caused a deep sleep to fall on him. He slept. It took for the woman one rib from among his ribs, and this rib was the origin of the woman from among his ribs. And he built up the flesh in its stead and built the woman. Um, he awoke out Adam of his sleep, and he rose on the sixth day. He brought her to him, and he knew her and said to her, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman because she was taken from man. Therefore, man and wife will be one, and therefore a man will leave his father and mother, cleave to his wife, and they will be one flesh. In the first week, Adam was created, and the rib, his wife, in the second week. So, first week came man, and here in the first week, if you have a male child, then you're unclean for 1 week. If you have a female child, you're unclean for 2 weeks. And Eve came at the second week. Mom, you sleeping?
Yes.
I know.
I'm tired today.
I know. Me too. And remember, like Adam and Eve weren't made in the garden. They were placed in the garden. So um in in Jubilees 3, and I didn't put it in my notes, I should have, but um mm, mm, mm. Okay. And in the first week, Adam was created, and the rib, his wife, in the second week, he showed her to him. For this reason, the command was given to keep in their defilement for a male 7 days, for a female twice 7 days. After Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, he was brought into the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. But they brought his wife in on the 80th day, and after this, she entered into the Garden of Eden. For this reason, the command is written on the heavenly tablets in regard to her that gives birth. If she bears a male, she will remain in her uncleanness 7 days, according to the first week of days, and 33 days she will remain in the blood of her purifying. And she will not touch any hallowed thing, nor enter into the sanctuary until she accomplishes these days, which are prescribed in the case of a male child. But in the case of a female child, she will remain in her uncleanness 2 weeks of days, according to the first 2 weeks, and 66 days in the blood of her purification, and they will be all 80 days. Um, so I thought that was pretty interesting because I was like, wait, why is it double? But It's because Adam was created within the first week and Eve in the second week. So it just keeps with that.
Okay.
Okay. Super interesting, right? Like I was like, no, I was like, I know I heard something about this, but it's crazy. Like even that has some divine purpose and rhyme and reason to it. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. So now we go on to leprosy, chapter 13. This one's a little confusing, so I I tried to summarize it and like go through it piece by piece this week because it was a lot. It's just a lot. Basically, I'll read it, but basically, leprosy is talking about skin disease. So if you got like vitiligo, you got pimples, you got uh what else? Boils, you got different things, like you had to go for an examination. So the leprosy was considered like unclean, but it was based on any type of skin condition. So the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when a person has on the skin of his body a swelling or an eruption or a spot, and it turns into a case of leprous disease, um, or skin disease, on the skin of his body, he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons the priests, and the priest shall examine the diseased area on the skin of his body. If the hair in the diseased area has turned white, and the disease appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a case of leprous disease. When the priest has examined him, he shall pronounce him unclean. If the spot is white in the skin of his body and appears no deeper than the skin, and the hair in it has not turned white, the priest shall shut up the diseased person for 7 days. So basically, this person is now in quarantine. The priest shall examine him on the seventh day. If in his eyes the disease is checked and the disease has not spread in the skin, the priest shall shut him up for another 7 days. So now you're at 14 days. The priest shall examine him again on the seventh day. If the diseased area has faded and the disease has not spread in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only an eruption, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the eruption spreads in the skin after he has shown himself to the priest for his cleansing, he shall appear again before the priest. And the priest shall look. If the eruption has spread in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous disease. When a man is afflicted with a leprous disease, he shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall look. If there is a white swelling in the skin that has turned the hair white, and there is raw flesh in the swelling, it is a chronic leprous disease in the skin of his body, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. He shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if the leprous disease breaks out in the skin, so that the leprous disease covers all the skin of the diseased person from head to foot, so far as the priest can see, the priest shall look, and if the leprous disease has covered all his body, he shall pronounce him clean of the disease. It has all turned white, and he is clean. But when raw flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean, and the priest shall examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. Raw flesh is unclean, for it is a leprous disease. But if the raw flesh recovers and turns white again, then he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. And if the disease has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce the diseased person clean. He is clean. If there is in the skin of one's body a boil and it heals, and in the place of the boil there comes a white swelling or a reddish white spot, then it shall be shown to the priest. The priest shall look, and if it appears deeper than the skin, and its hair has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. if it is a case of leprous disease that has broken out in the boil. If the priest examines it and there is no white hair in it, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall shut him up for 7 days. So you're going into quarantine. If it spreads in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a disease. But if the spot remains in one place and does not spread, it is the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. When the body has a burn on its skin and the raw flesh of the burn becomes a spot, reddish white or white, the priest shall examine it. And if the hair in the spot has turned white and it appears deeper than the skin, it is a leprous disease. It has broken out in the burn, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease. But if the priest examines it and there is no white hair in the spot, and it is no deeper than the skin, but is faded, the priest shall shut him up 7 days, and the priest shall examine him the 7th day. If it is the spreading in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a case of leprous disease. But if the spot remains in one place and does not spread in the skin, but is faded, it is a swelling from the burn. The priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is the scar of the burn. When a man or woman has a disease on the head or the beard, the priest shall examine the disease. If it appears deeper than the skin, and the hair in it is yellow and thin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is an itch, a leprous disease of the head or the beard. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is like dandruff, right? Like it's sounding like dandruff because dandruff is like itchy. But or it can be like if your scalp is dry or whatever, like your beard. I don't know. I see people itching their beards. If the priest examines the itching disease and it appears no deeper than the skin, there's no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up the person with the itching disease for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the disease. If the itch has not spread and there is in it no yellow hair, and the itch appears to be no deeper than the skin, then he shall shave himself, but the itch he shall not shave. So you have to shave around it. So you just have like patchy beard or patchy head, I guess. And the shall shut up the person with the itching disease for another 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall examine the itch. If the itch has not spread and it appears no deeper than the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if it spreads in the skin after his cleansing, the priest shall examine him, and if the itch has spread in the skin, the priest need not seek for the yellow hair, because he's unclean. But if in his eyes the itch is unchanged and black hair has grown in it, the itch is healed and he's clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. See, this is like a lot of information that I don't like fully understand. When a man or a woman has spots on the skin of the body, white spots, the priest shall look. If the spots on the skin of the body are a dull white, it is leukoderma that has broken out in the skin. He is clean. If a man's hair falls out from his head, he's bald. He's clean. If a man's hair falls out from his forehead, he has baldness of the forehead. Now, I don't
know.
I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't know if that's uh, like the eyebrows, because why wouldn't it say the eyebrows? Like, who's just growing hair like that in their forehead? I don't know.
It has to be the
I don't know.
eyebrows. It has to.
I don't know. Like, that would be the only thing. Like, ain't no way, because he's just like you're just growing hair on your forehead and it's just falling out. Like, it's so weird. But if there is on his bald head or the bald forehead a reddish white diseased area, it is a leprous disease breaking out on the bald head or his bald forehead. I feel like somebody just wanted to write that. Like I really do because it's like what? Then like do people grow hair? Like somebody Google it. Do people grow hair? Like what does it look like to grow hair on your forehead? Then the
Aren't your
priest
I
baby
feel
shall
hairs
like
examine.
some
vibrant?
do.
I mean everybody has like the little peach fuzz or whatever, right? But like full on like head of hair on the forehead.
Maybe back then they did. Maybe like people evolved. It comes out bangs. Like I looked. So, forehead hair said bangs.
The Michael Jackson baby hairs.
I
Hmm.
mean, I guess, yeah, it would be like the edges. Because maybe it's just like the high forehead.
But my edges done fell out. I got a big
Oh,
old forehead.
dang. Well, I mean, it says if you have a bald forehead, then you're clean. So, I mean, hey, I'm guessing you're good.
Okay, cool.
I'm weak.
Uh, okay, then the priest shall examine him. And if the disease swelling is reddish white on his bald head or on his bald forehead, like the appearance of leprous disease in the skin of the body, he is a leprous man, he's unclean, and the priest must pronounce him unclean. His disease is on his head. The leprous person who has the disease shall wear torn clothes and let the hair of his head hang loose, and he shall cover his upper lip, which is his mustache, and cry out, unclean, unclean. So basically, you got to go and publicly announce that you are unclean. Like, you got to walk around looking real homeless and pronouncing that you're unclean. He shall remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean. He shall live alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. When there is a case of leprous disease in a garment, whether a woolen or a linen garment, in warp or woof of linen or wool, or in a skin or in anything made of skin, if the disease is greenish or reddish in the garment, or in the skin, or in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, it is a case of leprous disease, and it shall be known to the priest. The priest shall examine the disease and shut up that which has the disease for 7 days. Then he shall examine the disease on the seventh day. If the disease has spread in the garment, in the warp of the woof, or the woof, or in the skin, whatever be the use of the skin, the disease is a persistent leprous disease. It is unclean. He shall burn the garment, or the warp, or the woof, the wool, or the linen, or any article made of skin that is diseased, for it is a persistent leprous disease. It shall be burned in the fire. If the priest examines, and if the disease has not spread in the garment, in the warp or the woof, or in any article made of skin, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing in which is the disease. He shall shut it up for another 7 days, and the priest shall examine the diseased thing after it has been washed. And if the appearance of the diseased area has not changed, though the disease has not spread, it is unclean. You shall burn it in the fire, whether the rot is on the back or on the front. But if the priest examines, and if the diseased area has faded after it has been washed, he shall tear it out of the garment, or the skin, or the warp, or the woof. Then, if it appears again in the garment, in the warp, or the woof, or in any article made of skin, it is spreading. You shall burn with fire whatever has the disease, but the garment, or the warp, or the woof, or any article made of skin from which the disease departs when you've washed it shall then be washed a second time and be clean. This is the law for a case of leprous disease in a garment of wool or linen, either in the warp or the woof. I do not know what the warp or the woof is. I did not look it up. Or in any article made of skin to determine whether it is clean or unclean. So here it's talking about the different skin diseases, right? But the the physical appearance of the body had a serious impact on the wholeness of the community, and the line was drawn at being unclean. So if you were unclean, then you were blemished. If you were whole, you were without blemish. Skin defects could be considered unclean and underwent a strict process to determine the severity of the issue and whether or not it was temporary or long term. The priesthood was responsible for the examination of swelling, eruption, or spots on the skin. Based on whether there was swelling, scabs, hair turning white, raw flesh. Like that's crazy. They not only had to be the priest, but they were kind of similar to like a doctor as well. Um, Depending on the looks of the spot, quarantine was required for a set number of days with re-examination to determine whether that person can wash and be made clean again or would remain unclean. So if you had hair growing on or around the area that turned white and was deeper than the surface, you were unclean. If the spot was spreading or there was raw flesh, you were unclean. At times, spreading to cover the entirety of the body, unclean. Boil on the body with swelling and hair color change, unclean. Burn on the body with raw flesh and it becomes reddish white or white and has hair turning color, indicating it's deeper than the surface level, unclean. Disease on the head or the beard, if it's deeper than the surface and the hair is turning yellow or thin, you're unclean. White spots on the body, dull white, it is leukoderma, which I looked it up and it says it's also called vitiligo. So when we see people with vitiligo, that's what that was. It does not involve flaking, and flaking is the characteristic associated with unclean conditions. The biblical framework classifies active, sore, peeling conditions as unclean, whereas stable conditions like baldness or leukoderma are considered clean. Hair loss on the forehead, clean. A reddish white diseased area on the forehead, I don't understand. Unclean and requires monitoring. Lep- Leprous persons had to live alone outside the camp. They could not be mixed with the clean. They had to wear torn clothes, remember an outward expression of mourning or grief, and they had to have their hair loose. I just put it's giving homeless because that's what it was. Like at the moment, it's like, okay, so you got to wear some dirty clothes. You got to grow out your mustache. You have to keep your hair like you can't do your hair and you have to cry out unclean. Like at that point, it's like and you have to live by yourself outside the camp. So like they're literally like the homeless. Like if you're married and you got kids, like, hey, I got this skin disease on my forehead. Like I'm sorry. I can't live with you right now. Like, and you gotta stay out. Like that's crazy. I mean, I get it, but still.
It's crazy.
Yes. And the garment being diseased, that was referring to like mold or fungus. Like if you had, because remember, they also used not just yarn, but sometimes they also use like skins of animals and things like that. So if it had mold or fungus and it grew, then you had to burn it and you just are out that piece of clothes. If there was no spread and the spot faded but wasn't gone, it could be cleaned, but they would have to like cut that piece out and then patch it with something new. But if the spot returned, then the garment had to be burned. So they had very specific rules for all of that. And then we are going to go on to the last chapter. I only read up to, I mean, I only finished taking notes up to verse 32. So we'll probably just stop there. And this is just for cleaning the lepers. Okay, so the first half of Leviticus 14. And I think once we finish 14, I think we're officially halfway through Leviticus.
Yeah.
It's so much information already.
I know.
Okay. So the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "This shall be the law of the leprous person for the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought to the priest, and the priest shall go out of the camp, and the priest shall look. Then, if the case of leprous disease is healed in the leprous person, the priest shall command them to take for him who is to be cleansed, 2 live clean birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet yarn, and hyssop. The priest shall command them to kill one of the birds in an earthenware vessel over fresh water. He shall take the live bird with the cedar wood, and the scarlet yarn, and the hyssop, and dip them and the live bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over the fresh water. He shall sprinkle it 7 times on him who is to be cleansed of the leprous disease. Then he shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird go into the open field. So now you got this like living bloody bird just out there roaming free. Um, he who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe himself in water. He shall be clean. After that, he may come into the camp, but live outside his tent 7 days. So now he's getting closer to being home. He's just not
Mhm.
fully there yet. He's still got one more week of like a um semi quarantine at that point. Um on the 7th day he shall shave off all his hair from his head, his beard, and his eyebrows.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so now he's just everything. He shall shave off all his hair, and then he shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in water, and he shall be clean. On the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish, 1 ewe lamb, a year old without blemish, a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, 1 log. A log was about a third quarter. Um, 1 log of oil. The priest who cleanses him shall set the man who is to be cleansed and these things before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The priest shall take one of the male lambs and offer it for a guilt offering, along with the log of oil, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. He shall kill the lamb in the place where they kill the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the place of the sanctuary. For the guilt offering, like the sin offering, belongs to the priest. It is most holy. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, and the priest shall put it on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, the right thumb of his right hand, and on the right big toe of his right foot. Then the priest shall take some of the log of oil and pour it into the palm of his own left hand, and dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and sprinkle some oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. Some of the oil that remains in his hand, the priest shall put on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot, on top of the blood of the guilt offering. The rest of the oil that is in the priest's hands he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed. Then the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord. The priest shall offer the sin offering to make atonement for him who is to be cleansed from his uncleanness. Afterward, he shall kill the burnt offering, and the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the grain offering on the altar. Thus the priest shall make atonement for him, and he shall be clean. If he is poor and cannot afford so much, he shall take 1 male lamb for a guilt offering to be waved to make atonement for him, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil for a grain offering, and a log of oil. Also 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons, whichever he can afford. The one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. On the 8th day he shall bring them for his cleansing to the priest, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, before the Lord. The priest shall take the lamb of the guilt offering and the log of oil. The priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. He shall kill the lamb of the guilt offering. The priest shall take some of the blood of the guilt offering, put it on the lobe of the right ear of him who is to be cleansed, on the thumb of the right hand, the big toe of his right foot. The priest shall pour some of the oil into the palm of his own left hand, sprinkle it with the right finger, some of the oil that is in his right or in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put some of the oil that is in his hand on the lobe of the right ear, on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his foot, in the place where the blood of the guilt offering was put. The rest of the oil that is in the priest's hands, he shall put on the head of him who is to be cleansed, to make atonement for him before the Lord. He shall offer of the turtle doves or pigeons, whichever he can afford, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, along with the grain offering. And the priest shall make atonement before the Lord for him who is being cleansed. This is the law for him in whom is a case of leprous disease, who cannot afford the offerings for his cleansing.
That's a lot of steps.
That's a lot of
Mhm.
information. That's a lot. That's why I did not finish chapter 14 yet. So you had to, just like everything else, there was a whole protocol you had to follow. Like this wasn't like a 5-minute procedure. This was like, no, you got to run through like 10 steps. I outlined them, and I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 79, 10, like 11 steps, 12, 13,
Wow.
14, all together. So you had to get 2 live clean birds, cedar wood, because remember, cedar wood was more durable, it was better wood, scarlet yarn, hyssop. You have to kill one of the birds inside of your little container. And remember, the earthenware vessel, it's porous, so the blood of that offering is seeping into it. And you have to kill it in that, but over fresh running water. You have to take the live bird with the cedar wood and the scarlet yarn and hyssop, dip them in the blood of the bird that was killed, sprinkle it 7 times on himself, let the living bird go. So now you got a bloody bird just roaming around. Probably several, because if this leprosy, if they got skin disease, like, what if they got a sunburn and now they're peeling? Well, dang it, now you gotta go sit outside the camp. Um, like that's it for you. You got quarantine for 7 days. So then you have to wash your clothes. You have to shave all your hair, and you have to bathe in water. You can come back, but you're not allowed to. You cannot be in the group. Like, you cannot sit with us yet. We can see you, you can see us, but that's as far as it goes. And you have to do that for a whole week. Mind you, who even knows how long you've been out there?
Right.
Like, it's already been 2 weeks that you've been in quarantine, and now you're still like, hey, we still got some time, guys. Like, not yet. So then you do that. Then you gotta shave a second time, but this time it's not just your head and your beard. Like, now you gotta take off the eyebrows too. Like, there can be no hair on
No
your
hair
head
at all.
whatsoever. Like, from the neck up, you better be fully bald, and like the sun better be beaming on your dome.
That is crazy.
So then you gotta wash your clothes a second time. You gotta take another bath. Then on the 8th day, you gotta go find your animals without blemish. So you done went through all of this. Now you gotta go look for these animals, your grain offering, the oil. You have to take all this to the priest. And now the priest has to be a part of it, because the priest has to offer it as the guilt offering, the wave offering.
That's great.
And then you get anointed with, on the right side of your body, just like the priest did. Remember, you got the right ear, the right thumb, the right big toe. You got blood. Okay, now cool. Now we move to the oil portion. You got the same thing. Then now you got an oily head, because the rest of the oil goes to anoint your head. And like that's a lot. Like, that's a lot.
Yes.
That's a huge process. Like, that's worse than AA. Don't they have like a 12-step process? Like, this has like a whole 14-step process, and you got to go out and do stuff. Like, you got to be active through it.
Well, then you have to think like too, they didn't have, I mean, not that it made a difference, but they didn't have like modern medicine. So they probably genuinely thought these rules are going to cure them too, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and these were, like it was like everything was, the separation was clear, right? Like back in those days, the separation between clean and unclean was clear.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of gray area. It was very black and white compared to what it is now.
Right.
But that was a lot. Like trying to go through all of that was like, wait a minute. Who can remember these rules? Like their brain capacities had to be much better than ours too, because
Definitely.
like no. Like I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes throughout this week or the last couple weeks, every time I hear somebody that's like covering up for somebody, I'm like, oh, there's a ram. When I hear somebody lying, like, oh, there's a ram.
Wow.
My God, there's a ram right there. Not like y'all getting pretty expensive.
That's funny.
But that is
Oh,
all
boy.
I have for today. We're gonna pick up on 33, chapter 14, verse 33 next time.